Hello and welcome back for another video. Per usual, I put out a poll on my community page on my YouTube asking what the people want to see. And one of the highest ones on the recent one was pros and cons of using primes and zoom lenses for sports photography. So I'm going to be going through some pros and cons that I see when I've used primes and zooms in sports photography. So I'm going to start with primes. Prime lenses are what I would go to for most instances. And the pros are typically the autofocus is faster, and typically they are faster lenses. And when I say faster lenses, I'm not, like I already said, the autofocus is usually faster, but also they are faster when getting more light. Usually they're not f4 lenses, usually they're 2.8, 2, f1.4, 1.8, 1.0. Usually they're much faster lenses because they have less parts in them, so they are allowed to open up a little more and get more light. So typically I try to go with prime lenses per my videos that you've seen me use the 50mm, the 85mm, and the 300mm f2.8 for sports photography. I like primes because, like I said, they're faster, so they allow more light in usually. Now the 300 is still a 2.8, but the autofocus is super fast compared to my older EF 70-200 that I used to have. And now I'm going to get into the zoom lenses. Now that I've got into the RF glass zoom lenses like the 24-70 and the 70-200, some of these don't really stand up anymore. But back in the day when I used EF glass, the zoom lenses were slower in autofocus. And that was a big bummer when it comes to sports photography. But now that I'm using RF glass, the autofocus is super fast. But you typically will get a slower lens when it comes to the f-stop. You'll see f4, f5.6, f8. They're just slower lenses when you get into the cheaper zoom lenses. But the 24-70, the 70-200, they are 2.8 glass and they are fast. So now when it comes down to shooting with primes and zooms. So primes, there is some cons. You have to find a position where you're going to be able to sit the whole time or stand, whatever you're covering sports wise. And that's what you get. You're not able to zoom in, you're not able to zoom out. So there is the con of not getting too much variety from the position that you're shooting in. And this is where the pros of a zoom lens come in handy. You're able to get into one spot and you're able to zoom in and get one shot and maybe zoom out and get another shot of the same play or the same event, whatever you're covering. So like for basketball right now, I'm shooting a lot with the 24-70 under the basket. I'm allowed to go to 24 super wide to get a layup, a dunk. And then at 70, I can zoom into the coach on the bench. I can zoom into the 3-point line if they're top of the key and get something that's usable. Or I can zoom in and get a tight shot if they're under the basket going up for a layup. I can zoom in and get a tight shot of them getting the layup. So there is the pros of having a zoom lens. You're able to kind of work from one spot and get multiple different things. There's also like track. Track, you could sit in one spot right off the track, and you can zoom in at 200 as they're running towards you, and you could zoom out as they come closer, or you could stay at that zoomed in, whatever it may be on your lens, 70 200, whatever you're zoomed in at, and you could stay in and get super tight as they run past you. So there is that. Now, one thing I will say about having a prime when it comes to sports, say you have an 85 1.8, you're getting that extra stop of light. You're also going to get a little more separation from your background on your subject. It's going to look a little more blurrier behind your subject, which helps with separating them from maybe the stands or a busy background of whatever arena or whatever field you are shooting at. So there is the pros of using a prime. If you're using a prime 105 1.8 or whatever it may be, if you have something faster than a 2.8 on a prime lens and your subject is close enough, it's going to give you a really nice separation from the background, which comes in handy with sports photography because you're trying to isolate the athlete from the background sometimes, because sometimes it's empty stands or just busy stands with a bunch of stuff going on. So being able to separate them from the background. So that's where primes come in handy, is typically you are going to get a little more separation from your background with those lenses. So there's pros and cons of using both styles of lenses. You just have to find out what works best for you. And over the years, typically primes worked best for me. But now that I'm using RF glass and the autofocus is just as fast, I've been using almost 50-50, if not more towards the zoom side of things now, because having the 70-200 on my primary body for basketball and then the 24-70, that allows me to get wide shots of the huddles in between on timeouts, and then also getting wide shots under the basket, and then going to the 70-200 and getting a cross court defense and rebounds. You just have to find out what works best for you, and right now I'm kind of working with everything that I have. So with that said, I appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you have a lens that you really love to use, and I will see you all next time.